Come on in, everybody. The show is beginning. Come on in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone here. And as people straggle in with all the traffic issues I know that are out there, please welcome folks to your table. Make room for them. Welcome to those of you in Austin and to those of you who are listening and watching online. We've got hundreds and hundreds of people watching today's event from a distance. So welcome to all of you. Hi, Mom. I know she's watching. Welcome to our first ever Little Big Things Parkinson's Innovation event. Yay! I'm Polly Dawkins, and I am Executive Director of the Davis Phinney Foundation, and we're based in Boulder, Colorado. First, let's all thank Jan and Bill Grimes for the beautiful music today as we came in. You know, it's about 10 months ago, I got a call from Samantha Hack. And she said, I think she was in her car, and she was driving home. And she said, Polly, we really need to brainstorm. We need to think about an innovation event for the Parkinson's community. And I said, oh, yes, we do. This is a great idea. And so fast forward to May of this year, I was in her offices, and we continued brainstorming about what a Parkinson's innovation event could look like and what a day like this could look like. So I would like to now introduce you to Samantha Hack to tell you about the impetus behind today's vision and today's event. Please welcome Samantha Hack.
Thank you. And you should know all my important phone calls are from the car. That's where I get business done. I am Samantha Hack, and I'm from Synovian Pharmaceuticals, a pharmaceutical company based in Marlborough, Massachusetts. And I'll speak on behalf of the Synovian team. We're thrilled to be here today in partnership with the Davis Phinney team talking about Little Big Things. But I first want to, before we even kick things off, I want to acknowledge the Davis Phinney team. They've put in a tremendous amount of work into this event in a very short period of time. And we certainly couldn't have done it. Well, they made it happen, basically. So let's give them a round of applause, please. But I also want to thank all of you, both here in Austin and watching on the webcast, because it's your passion to learn more, your engagement with the community that inspires groups like us to put on events like these. So thank you to all of you for being here today and watching online. We really appreciate your attention, your engagement, and your interest in everything that's going on in the Parkinson's community. So if you're not familiar with Synovian, we're relatively new to the Parkinson's community. And when we entered the space in 2017, the first thing we did was to talk to people like you, people living with Parkinson's. And the thing we heard over and over again is, well, of course, there's a desperate need for new treatments for Parkinson's. But living every day with Parkinson's is hard, and we're looking for things that can help make life a little easier to live with Parkinson's. And so this desire for everyday innovation sparked an idea at Synovian to say, let's create a platform where we can bring ideas together all in one place, big or small, that might help improve the daily life of people living with Parkinson's. And that platform is Little Big Things. So I think the best way to kick off our program today is to show you a video that tells the story of Little Big Things. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
At Synovian, it started with an idea that grew into something bigger, that sparked innovation and empowered a community. Little Big Things is a place where the community can share ideas and innovations that may help improve the lives of people living with Parkinson's disease. In one short year, Little Big Things has touched the lives of millions of people, not only by encouraging engagement, but by inspiring action. From Synovian's proud sponsorship of the community and participation in hundreds of events nationwide, to creating the Rapid Hack event, which brought together patients, innovators, care partners, advocates, and doctors to generate ideas that may help improve lives. By enhancing and integrating tools into patients' daily lives, we hope to help people with Parkinson's live better and move easier.
The people here are just blowing me away with their ingenuity. It's really amazing, and I'm excited about the ideas.
It's like mind-blowing to get together with people who are trying to solve all of the problems that I try to deal with every single day with the people who I take care of.
We recognize that today, like 1 million people in the U.S. are living with Parkinson's disease, and so we need small wins that can help support people living with the disease on a day-to-day basis.
I hope that by the end of the day that we come up with something that's really amazing that will help benefit the most people with Parkinson's at this point, because this is just the beginning, I believe.
Little Big Things continues to support the community and improve the lives of people with Parkinson's disease. Little Big Things, presented by Synovian.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you to Synovian for helping make this day a reality. So what is today? Today, our focus is to provide you with ideas, inspiration, and innovations to help you live well with Parkinson's. We want you to see, to touch, to understand, to brainstorm, and see things that are being worked on, things and really taking an idea from an idea to done, or maybe not quite done, but how innovations are happening in the Parkinson's community. We're hopeful that you come away from today with two things. First, we want you to know that you're not being forgotten. Parkinson's is not being forgotten. Every day, people are working on solutions to problems that you say you have. And some of your biggest challenges are being worked on, and progress is being made. Secondly, we hope you come away inspired to create a solution, inspired to take one of the solutions you see and incorporate it into your daily life, or learn about something new. And then you can see my hack here. I've created my program book. I've turned it into my notes. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Today's event, what are you prepared for today? What are you going to see? You're going to hear 5 main stage speeches, very short. You're going to see 2 inspirational videos. We're going to get you moving, a couple of movement breaks, and then we're going to do some brainstorming together. As well, you'll have the opportunity at the end of today to go out and meet with some more exhibitors and get to know each other a little bit better. On your table, you have a lot of goodies. Included in that is this program book that, like mine. In this program book, you'll find today's speaker biographies. We won't be reading them aloud for you. You can find them there. You'll find the agenda for today, and you'll find descriptions of our exhibitors and what they're working on. All right, so let's get on with the day. I'd like to introduce you next to our MC for the day, Mr. John Dean. And I would say John was probably one of the very first people I met, one of the very first professionals I met in the Parkinson's community over 8 years ago. And John introduced himself to me as a Parkinson's nerd. And I was like, I gotta love this guy. What's not to love about that? And pretty immediately we became colleagues and friends and cycling buddies. And he continues to inspire me with his knowledge of the Parkinson's community and what's going on. So please join me in welcoming John Dean onto the stage.
I'm so pleased to be here as your MC today and to talk about the work we're doing. When Polly was talking about what she was cooking up, I knew I had to be here I didn't leave her alone. I kept pushing because it was such a great event. It's such a nice opportunity to see what people are doing to innovate around the world and maybe get some ideas from the crowd at the same time. So as she alluded, I am a nerd. I'm proud about that. I'm a Parkinson's nerd. I've been working in this community for about 12 years, exclusively with people with Parkinson's. I'm a speech language pathologist by training, but I've also worked in a number of startup environments in the EU and in the US. And I'm really happy to talk today about the project that my co-founder, Josefa Domingos, a Portuguese physiotherapist extraordinaire, also specializing in Parkinson's. And we're going to talk about Triad Health AI, smarter exercises for Parkinson's. Today's format, it's going to follow a very common form. It's going to be a situation where we talk a little bit about the challenge that we see out there, what we recognize in our community, why we think we're the people to solve that challenge, and then how we're going to go about the solution, okay? And so the first thing I want to talk about, the challenge we see, is that we realize that many people with Parkinson's around the world don't have enough access to specialized exercise, to expertise, okay? And before I get into that a little bit, I just want to know that everyone here has gotten the memo about exercise, right? We all believe that exercise is critical, right? Does anyone, any disbelievers I need to target today? To me, and this is why I love the foundation, is that I see the exercise as being the single most important thing you can do to take some control so you can live well today, and it's very important. But the problem is that not everyone has the access. And I've been living in Portugal and Colorado back and forth working on our project, and it's even more stark once you get out of the United States. So just by chance, a couple weeks ago, one of the many Facebook groups for Parkinson's that are out there on the web, the administrator who has Parkinson's just put this question out there, and the answers came rolling in from around the world about who has access. And it's frustrating because some people are saying, yes, I have access, but I have to drive 50 miles round trip. And another person's like, well, it costs me 90 pounds, someone in the UK, so that's $116. So one session a week is going to be $6,000 a year. And then we run into kind of the research elements. Terry Ellis talks about people who are not feeling the efficacy or not sure that it's getting the results they want, and I think that has to do with the expertise. That's where we worry about that. So when you look out into the marketplace of what is available for people to do exercise, at the very top end, on the left-hand side, you see DVDs, online videos, streaming services. These are all freely available or available for a nice, relatively inexpensive cost, but they're not geared towards your specific needs. They're not directed towards what you're dealing with, and if you happen to improve in some way, you get really good at an exercise, it doesn't progress with you. And if you need more help in a different area, it's not collecting the information you need to understand how to make it better. So it's a one-way interaction that doesn't collect very much data. It's still what's out there for a number of people, particularly if you can't get to what you need. In the middle of that square, you have apps and wearables and some specialized technologies, and that's had a really mixed bag. In 2013, I had a startup that was making an iPhone app to measure symptoms of Parkinson's, and it was great. We had a lot of people using it, except that once I wasn't there to supervise, we started to realize that the interface was really difficult. That's a hard one. You have fine motor issues and visual changes. So I think that as an interface is difficult. Wearables have produced kind of mixed results, but I think they're getting smarter. The interesting area that I think may be progressing are dedicated technologies like Peloton or Hydro or Mirror, where there's actually a piece of equipment that's well calibrated, that's giving you exercise on demand, but those are extremely expensive. You have an online subscription, $60 a month, $70 a month, plus you have to buy the piece of equipment. So that's not great, but it's in a step in the right direction. Down on the lower right-hand corner, you start to get into my wheelhouse. You know, people come from around the world to work with Josefa and myself, and we do retreats, we do Parkinson's boot camps all around the US and in the EU, and that's great, but that's a very small segment. That's people who can afford to come to us, who can make the trip across the ocean or come find us where we are in the States, and it's great outcomes. It has the best data for efficacy. I think the Movement Disorder Society listed physical therapy as likely efficacious. I'm possibly useful still. I'm working my way up there. Speech therapy, we'll get there one day. But it's too expensive. But we know that if you had access to specialized exercise that is specific to your needs, that's directed towards what you're dealing with, Who would choose anything else? Who would choose a generic thing that's just out there that you can pick up because it's cheap or free? And that really gets to why us. So my co-founder, Joseph, and I met about 7 years ago at a Parkinson's industry event, and we just started working, and we realized that we believe in exercising differently. We combine movement and voice and cognition in a way it's compelling and it's interesting, but it also it attacks key areas that you're dealing with. And if you have something in your day-to-day existence, we can mimic it with an exercise. And we found it to be a very great way to engage people and keep them engaged and keep them challenged so they want to continue working. Okay, so here's a video of us working with some folks in Lisbon. Generally speaking, we have something coming on our device. Every time they hear an even number, they go step forward. Odd, step back. Hands up on the 5s. This is a really talented crew. We work with them a lot. So we knew that they were going to get too good quickly. So we made it a little harder after. Next level here. We wanted to do a lot more walking forward. That's more important for us right now for the gait. And then they were getting too good. So then I became the distractor, and I like to pretend that I did it wrong on purpose, but usually I did it wrong on purpose. And we would make it more difficult as a way of seeing if I could trigger them to do it wrong, and then that would be another thing that they had to tune out while they're doing the exercise. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but this is very much like real life. So I'm the intruder, not the distractor, sorry, yes. And again, these are things that we're doing. All we're really trying to do is we're trying to get people to engage in the exercise. We're trying to get them to do things that are challenging to them, that are realistic to things they would do on day to day, and then also keep at it so that they don't lose interest. And at the very end, actually, we decided to have people change and become the intruders, and that was the fun part. That was the really best part. I'm sorry the video cuts off at the end. Very good. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a great crew, and we do a lot of those kind of classes. And again, we'll do them with the group that's over there, or we'll go to a location. We're doing some up in the EU. We're doing one in Stockholm. We're doing one in Boulder. And we'll do these programs, and we program them towards people. But those are, again, the people that can come to see us. And then when they leave, what do they have? They have a program that they can use, but what do they take away? Do they take it to the therapist? So a couple of years ago, when the Amazon Alexa came out and the Google Home came soon after that, we started programming our exercises into those devices, and that gave us a really interesting way to carry over what we're doing. So we could do the activities, and then they could take it home, and the activity would call up by their voice. They could bypass that interface with the phone, and then they could also track their performance, so you could see how you were doing. And then we started adding on even more information about the voice signal. We were able to process some insights with machine learning. And it's become a very powerful way to do exercise in a way that's very engaging while also getting some information about how you're living, how your day-to-day life is. Oh, I keep hitting the laser. So Amazon Alexa, Google Home enable us to deliver these specialized exercises both in the clinic, as we're going to demonstrate here, also at home to anyone, anywhere. So he has a completely different set of goals, which is why we're working on it with this TRX with the bands on it. And granted, he speaks Portuguese, so that's its own challenge, and I have my own issues backwards. And we're just changing it dynamically. So when he's doing too well, if it looks too good, okay, it's time for the next one. And with the device, we can see that. We can see when you're doing too well and it's time to make it a little bit harder, or when you're having some issues and it's time to make it a little simpler. Yeah.
19, 5, 10, 2, 11, 10, 14, 11.
So he's actually listening and saying the number back. It's called an end back exercise. It's very challenging. We'll try a little bit later today. I'll do a demo at the end of the session, and you'll get to see how challenging this can be. Yeah. And then she's adding a little bit of motor, so a little bit of marching in place. that's a very common issue, is to stop walking while you're talking. It's a common indicator sometimes when you're doing exercise, and it needs to be addressed.
5, 8.
Okay, I'm going to move on from now. A lot of these videos are available on our website as well as on our YouTube channel. You can check some of them out. So another thing we like about our approach is that we're agnostic. We're not a branded technique that you use, that you take and you do it with an instructor that has our training and is certified. We have a set of concepts. We've been training healthcare providers for the past 3 years in the U.S. mainly, but actually we're going to be in Brazil next month, funded by the Movement Disorder Society. So we're really excited to have an opportunity to try it with a new group of people. And we know that you can take this as a therapist and you can apply it to anything. So Josefa teaches a class in a pool and aquatherapy. I do a boxing program, and I also do a choir. And what we like about it is that not only is this an approach that you can apply to whatever you're doing, whatever you like to do, but the device, by using your voice and calling it up with your voice, it bypasses having to try to use your phone. It would be a disaster trying to do an aquatherapy class with your phone. Your phone would be replaced every couple sessions. And then for the therapist, what we've been doing is using this as a way for them to get instant expertise. They can take the concepts. They're already therapists. They already have the training. They're already passionate about this population. We give them a set of tools. We give them the substrate to put on top of that, or underneath that, so they can use it with their clients, and they use it the way they would normally do therapy. So we're not taking the therapist out of the equation. We're enhancing it, and then they can provide the exercises to their patients, to the people with Parkinson's, so they can use it at home and do some monitoring that way. So together, we're hoping that we can bring something for everybody around the world with Parkinson's, a way to access exercise that's going to be specific to your needs, that's going to change with you and evolve with your needs over time, and provide you, the person living with Parkinson's, and anyone you want to share it with, information about how you're living with Parkinson's and how your disease is reacting to the exercise, reacting to the way you're sleeping, reacting to the medications. We're just now getting ready to release our first product. We're slated to do it in December. I came in from Lisbon, and I'm flying to Boulder. We're going to do some recordings as part of that first product. Actually, I fly out tomorrow. So if you want to take a look at our website, you can find out more. We'll have information about it when we're releasing, and we can also show you some of the activities. A couple of them are available on the Alexa store or the Amazon store if you want to see the actual skills. Thank you for taking some time, and I'm going to show you a little video next. Thank you.
My name is Sha Yao, and I'm the creator of Eat Well. When I found my grandmother had difficulties with self-feeding, I began volunteering in adult daycare centers, and that's when I realized there were many people who have similar problems as my grandma. They often ate lesson dishes, and accidents with spilled food and tipped cups were common. That's the reason I designed and created Eat Well, which is a very user-centered design that can help to increase food intake, maintain dignity for its users, while also help to alleviate caring burdens by making the process of eating as easy as possible. Eat Well is a universal tableware set that can be used by anyone, but it's especially benefit people with cognitive, motor, and physical impairment, or caregivers of those with special needs. Now I would like to show you what makes Eat Well special. There are over 20 unique features in each Eat Well set. Every design detail and decision can be traced back to a discovery made during the 4-year process. One of the more obvious features of the Eat Well set is its color. Studies have shown that a person with dementia consumes 24% more food and 84% more liquid when using brightly colored tableware. Eat Well applies this concept to stimulate interest in its user while providing a visual contrast. Now let's take a closer look at the design of the tableware. The slanted bottom of the bowls allows food to collect on one side, while spoons in the Eat Well set are specially designed to match the curvature of the bowl, making scooping food significantly easier. The bowls also features right-angle sides, which help prevent accidental spills. The Eat Well set also contains 2 types of cups. To prevent the cups from tipping over, one cup has a rubber base that acts as a stabilizer, and another cup has a handle that extends to the tabletop for added support. The handle is also specifically designed to benefit users with arthritis. Every product in the Eat Well set has anti-slippage material on the bottom to prevent slipping or sliding. The set also comes with a tray that allows users to clip a bib onto the edge to help catch any dropped food and prevent clothing stains. I put so much work into my research, sketches, mock-ups, and revisions of my model based on the feedback that I received from professional caregivers. After years of research and development, Eat Well won first place at the 2014 Stanford Design Challenge out of 52 other teams in 15 countries. I truly believe this product set can revolutionize the way we see kitchenware. I ask you to please support Eat Well and help to spread the word. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, please join me in welcoming Tim Hegg.
Well, hello. Yeah, there you are. And hello to everyone at home or out there, and a big shout out to Winnipeg. Yeah, I'm a long ways from home, and folks at home, it's 94 degrees here, 34 degrees Celsius. That's hot for Winnipeg. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here, and it is my pleasure to get to share some of my story with you today. Back in 2010, my wife and I, Cheryl, had just passed our 25th wedding anniversary. I know I look too young. When you add 10 years to that, we're creeping up on 35. Our 4 children were aged 20, 16, and twins at 12. I had a meaningful career as a nurse manager, and life was pretty darn good. It was in that year, in August, that summer, that I was diagnosed, that I first saw a small tremor in my left big toe. By February of 2011, I was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease. Now, of course, the nurse in me immediately wanted to know what I could do about this. What treatments were available, what medications there were, maybe physiotherapy. What was our care plan going to be to tackle this thing? Because you see, I was a fairly young man. Well, I was told 3 things. One, I was told that A, I'll see you every 6 months in my office by my doc. 2, there's some medication you can start if you like. And 3, yes, you can continue the rather extensive exercise program that I did at the time. Well, I tell you, I left my doctor's office that day quite happy, thrilled, matter of fact, that he didn't tell me that I had to stop running or stop cycling, doing the things that I had been doing. But I left extremely frustrated that there seemed very little that medicine was going to do for me, or that there was very little in our community to help me live well with this disease. As I left my doctor's office that day, I left with the beginnings of a commitment to do something for myself and for others living with Parkinson. Well, over the course of the next 2 years, there wasn't a lot that got done in the area of doing something. I went through what was for me a fairly serious bout of depression. I got down. It was a year of darkness that was honestly overcome only because of a wife who was willing to walk into the unlovely, dank parts of my life, find me, and help me find my way out. Through professional therapy, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, and an abiding faith in a God who is both loving and kind, I made my way through. At the end of this time, I knew I had to do something to figure out how I was going to live with this disease. And I made the decision there and then that I would walk forward with Parkinson's as my new best friend, whom I hate, but nonetheless walk forward with it as a blessing, thinking that there must be something good in this thing, both for me and for those around me. That's what I did. And then in 2013, a little distraction came along. My son, who was 23 at the time, and I applied for, got interviewed for, ultimately accepted to and won the first season of The Amazing Race Canada. Yeah. It has gone on to become Canada's most watched television show in history. And if you should know The Amazing Race, a little reality show, right? Well, winning the race launched me on a speaking career that has literally taken me all over North America. This opportunity has exposed me to many, many wonderful things being done across the country for people living with Parkinson's disease. This learning began to inspire me with what I could possibly do back home in Winnipeg. Thus, in time, we struck a board. We went on to form an independent registered charity, which we call U-Turn Parkinson's. We began to explore what it would look like to help people in Winnipeg and Manitoba living with the disease. Ultimately, we landed on the idea of starting a rock steady boxing class. And we started that with a local boxing club at home and kicked things off. Classes took off. Before long, we realized we were needing to expand classes. We were up to 6 classes at one time. We needed more coaches. Things were going absolutely fantastic. We then went on to include yoga, went on to include a singing group, and we've always been blessed with an abundance of volunteers who we call our U Crew. So we had U-Turn Parkinson's with U-Tunes, our singing group, U Crew, our volunteers. Little trend starting to come with the naming bit, eh? But then things started to go wobbly after a while. The gym that we had been working with decided to go in another direction. Thus, that left us in the position of needing to both find a new place to meet as well as finding new partners to coach with. We had also made the decision to step out and hire our first executive director. And despite our best intentions and our best efforts, that simply did not go the way that we had hoped. So after these events, I was left with a number of dark days where I was asking myself things like, why in the world are you doing this? And it became very difficult. I struggled mightily with the fact that looking after my personal health was my number one priority, and that all of this other stuff really wasn't helping that. I struggled with the idea of staying healthy for my family, well, with the fact that that was a must. I struggled with the fact that this disease stole my nursing career from me, and yet here I found myself in the midst of trying to run a small business startup. How did this happen? And in truth, there were many days when I simply wanted to quit, wanted to stop. Found myself asking myself questions like, you know what, does anybody really even care? Does any of this really matter? But as things generally are, there were those who were watching and listening, right? My daughter, my oldest daughter, Jordana, hey Jordy, texted me one day an excerpt from my book, Perseverance. And she said this, or it says this: we all have an idea of what perseverance means, but it was only relatively late in life that I really came to understand it. Our North American culture often tells us that we should look, feel, and be successful. Yet any success that I have had has come only after significant ordeals, underlined by her, and rarely did I ever feel successful along the way. But I've learned to persevere. This is an important point to hold on to. Perseverance can be learned. We can grow in our ability to withstand difficult times. We can learn to push forward in the face of failure. We can develop the determination to keep slogging ahead until we reach that remarkable day when someone in our life points out how lucky we've been. It's funny how so many of those who work hard and simply stay in the game get lucky. Without a doubt, many successful people will tell you that they've experienced lots of luck in their journey. That's because they stayed on the journey. They never quit. Underlined by her. They learned to persevere. Kids. Don't you just love it when they quote you? And so, yes, my mind would wander back to that day when I was diagnosed. And I would remember how frustrated I was sitting there in my doctor's office, realizing that there was nothing in my community like what we were now offering. I determined that I would persevere. I determined that I would see this through, that Parkinson's would not win this leg of the race. Today, U-Turn Parkinson's has 4 Rocksteady boxing classes, 2 U-Tunes singing groups, 1 yoga class, serving the community of Parkinson's in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We have recently hired 2 individuals part-time. One is program manager, the other is funds development and events planning. We are firmly on our feet and excited about the future. With the year 2020 coming into focus, we have a clear vision of who we are and what we would like to accomplish. We envision a wellness center offering a wide range of holistic services. We see dance classes in our future. We see nutrition, speech therapy, spin classes. We see support groups and social events. We see satellite centers across our province offering what we do. We see offering these services at a very low to no cost because most of the people we service are either on disability or have otherwise limited income. We see that we can make a difference. But why have I been asked to share this story with you? Well, I'm told that it's unique. Yet I don't feel unique. When I stop and I consider all the people that inspire me and I look around this country and see all that is going on, I see so many people growing where they have been planted and using their unique skills and abilities to help us in the community live well, to live our best with this disease. I think of people like Jimmy Choi, an overweight, depressed guy who, when diagnosed, took hold of this idea of exercise, and it took him all the way to the television show American Ninja Warrior. I think of people like Heather Kennedy, a writer, provocateur, social media maven, who is challenging our thoughts and the status quo of how we relate to PD. Larry Gifford, a professional radio broadcaster, who, when diagnosed, went on to create one of Canada's most listened to podcasts, When Life Gives You Parkinson. Omatola Thomas, a compassionate visionary challenging us to see beyond our own borders to Africa, where they have such difficulty even getting medications, living out the statement that it's better to give than to receive. I see our own Davis Finney, who for the last 15 years has been leading the way and setting the example of what it means to live well with this disease and to celebrate every victory with Parkinson's. And then I see the examples of Karen Jaffe in Ohio at In Motion. I see Jillian Carson's out at the Parkinson's Wellness Project in British Columbia, Canada, 2 women with Parkinson's who started wellness centers in their communities. It has been said that we 3 are unique. But I want to say here today that I don't want to be unique. I don't want to be one of a few who are attempting to make lasting change in their community. Rather, I want to be one in an army who rises up to square off with Parkinson's and to say, Parkinson's, you cannot have our life. I believe that each and every one of us have been given unique gifts and abilities and talents that are needed in this fight. And that is why I share this story with you today. I share my story with you today in the hopes that one day you too might have similar words as these written about you. From my friend Doug, he said, I'm a member of U-Turn Parkinson's Boxing Club. We don't hit each other. Rather, we are taught a combination of hits, and our opponent is the heavy bag. We do it because it gives us a sense of control over a disease that they say is uncontrollable. But there is more to it than that. I also go for the company of my fellow victims. At U-Turn Parkinson's, there is a lightness in the air. We try our best for our coach and her squad of dedicated volunteers, but the dominant emotion is laughter. We share our stories, our setbacks. We celebrate our triumphs. Above all, we encourage one another. In short, we are family. I share my story with you today in the hope that whether it be little or big, that you will take hold of your thing and that you will lead the fight against this disease, Parkinson's, in your community. Thank you for letting me share my story with you, and God bless you as you live your best. Thank you. It is thank you so very much. It is my pleasure now to introduce to the stage Sarah King and Mike Brach, and they're going to lead us in a movement break.
That was so I got it. Okay, are we ready to celebrate our bodies and persevere through the most challenging thing that you're going to do today? Yeah. Yeah, heck yeah. So I'm Sarah King. This is Mike Brach.
Hey.
Hey. We're Parkinson's physical therapists, and who's had Parkinson's PT before? Anybody? Physical therapy? Not a lot of hands, maybe some. So in physical therapy, we help people with their Parkinson's symptoms, and ways that we do that are, 1, helping you move through big, powerful movements, 2, making you do things that are really uncomfortable, which is why we're professional torturers or professional masochists or whatever you want to call us. And then we have a lot of fun. So today, for our movement break, we're going to teach you a little dance move called the floss. Has anybody heard of flossing? It kind of looks like this and then like this. Is it ringing any bells? No. Okay, so Mike's going to teach you how to do it.
Yeah, so this will be interesting because when Sarah and I were talking, at the group programs I run in Dallas, Texas, a lot of them focus on boxing and martial arts, and I thought initially, why not do some Tai Chi? But there is nothing innovative about the ancient Chinese martial art of Tai Chi. So we were coming up with this idea. We were talking about flossing, and the goal here today is this. If we do nothing else, hopefully we'll have some fun. But also, maybe we'll get to use some of those big, powerful, dynamic movements Sarah was talking about. And then, as a sweetener, we know that our friends at the Davis Finney Foundation funded a study a while back about rhythmic auditory stimulation, which is a fancy way of saying trying to keep up with a beat. And it's not only helpful for freezing of gait or festinating gait, but it's helpful to try and keep pace at faster than or slower than your self-selected pace. So let's just try this thing out, and then we'll get a little crazy. So if you feel safe standing up and giving this a shot, let's do it.
If not, you can stay seated and just do the arm movements.
Yeah.
If you're watching at home, you can also do the arm movements, but stand up from your chairs. Make sure you've got a little room. Sorry, Mike, keep going.
You're great. Good. So we got a lot of people standing. For those of you who are sitting, if you couldn't hear it, feel free to try just the arms. That's okay. Same at home, as long as you're safe, let's give it a shot. And along the lines of safety, just reach out a little bit and make sure you don't whack anybody. Because like Tim Haig mentioned with their boxing classes, non-contact, not hitting people, that's a good thing. Okay, so let's keep it simple. Teaching martial arts, I like to usually do arm movements first, then lower body stuff, then put it together. Let's just let the arms hang and imagine we've got a stick between our hands. That's good. The innovation of imagination. Sorry. I got to dial it back. Let's stand nice and tall, and we'll reach this stick out to your right, and now try to imagine breaking that stick on your hip. Yeah.
With some force.
Then reach back out and change sides. Break the stick, reach out, change. Break it, reach, change. Break, reach, change, break, reach, change, break, reach, change. So we're getting faster and we're crushing it, people, okay? So that's the arm movements, and if you work on that alone, that is fantastic. Also, let's add a little hip shaking as long as it doesn't hit people or hurt your hips, okay? So when we go to break the stick, we can use our hips to help break the stick. So we're reaching out to the right, we're holding the stick, break it on the hips, push the hips back, change sides. Break it on the hips, reach out, change sides. Break, reach, change, break, reach, change, break, reach, change. So we're doing great. Now let's get a little trickier. We're gonna do it to music. And hopefully this will be a great song for it.
So everybody starts singing happy birthday. I'm just kidding. We've got music.
So Chris, if you could hit the first tune for us, please. Good. Good.
All
So
right.
that's kind of the rhythm. Let's reach out, break, change, reach, break, change. I'm not on rhythm at all.
Okay, here we go. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Keep it going. Reach, break, change. Reach, break. We missed her. There we go. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Keep going. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. And then smile while you're doing it. Reach, break, change. 4 more. Let's go. Here you go. Let's go. Let's start at the right. Here we go. Over to the right or my left? Yeah. Reach, break. We don't have rhythm either. Here you go. Reach, break, change. I feel like we missed our.
We're doing it. We're doing it. This
Okay.
counts. This
Reach,
counts.
break, change. We need faster music, I think is the. All right. Pause it. We've got a new song.
Yeah.
We're going to pick up the pace a little bit.
So you should know that hopefully this will impress, if no one else, according to the folks in my groups in Dallas, it will impress younger children or grandchildren. I've been told that above 12 and up is too cool. So if you share this info that you can floss, please know that. But now let's get a little trickier and let's go a little faster. Second tune, Chris. Yeah, we're starting to the left.
6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hit. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Reach. I'm going faster than my cues.
You're great.
Just, feel your way through it. You don't need us. You don't know.
Dynamic movements. That's
So
all
you're
we're going
moving
for.
your hips side to side, nice and big. Getting those arms maybe up towards your shoulders. If you don't punch somebody in the face next to you. Reach, break, change. Yeah. So keep going. Reach, break. Just laugh and restart.
Yeah. Have some fun with it.
Reach, break, change. All right. Big. Yeah. Keep going. If you're not moving your hips, keep going, guys. This is only 3 minutes of exercise. You're doing great. Reach, break, change. So really swinging your hips, pushing. How about let's try spreading your fingers nice and wide. I know you got that stick in your hand, just throw it out. Let's reach, break, change.
We're doing it.
You're doing great.
We're doing it.
All right. We have nothing else other than flossing.
This is what we have.
This is all we have.
This is what we have.
Yeah.
But everybody, you look great from up here. I'll pretend we can see you online at home, even though we can't. You look great. And
Wow,
you can
look at
see
the
how big hip change, that's helpful for weight shifting.
If you're feeling unbalanced, recenter and get your feet nice and wide. Let's actually try that. Get your feet a little wider. And really see if you can move those hips and then add those arms in side to side. Yeah. Here we go. Reach, break, change. Reach, break, change. Your hips should be going opposite your arms. Yeah, don't think about it too much. Actually, just keep going. We got so much time. Right?
That's good.
Okay. All right, let's see. Look around you, keep flossing. Look around you, look around you. Who's the best flosser that we have in that? Point
can we
to him.
spotlight
Who's doing
a
our best
key flosser here?
Oh, we've got a. Are you pointing to me? Hi, Alex. Okay, nice job, everybody. Does anybody want to come up and dance with us? No, it's on live streaming television. No? Okay.
Well, that's okay, because now we got up, we got moving, we got our heart rate up a little bit. We know these are all keys for fighting Parkinson's and slowing the progression. And like was mentioned earlier, the only thing that we know slows the progression currently is exercise. So look at that. Just flossing can even help. It's not just for your dentist.
And the thing about flossing, I've been told by the generation underneath me, is that you can do it anytime that you want a pick-me-up. So I know that in the kind of day-to-day, things can get hard, right? Things can get challenging. You can feel a little down. Now you have a movement that you can stand up and get a little dopamine hit and feel a little bit better. So just bust out the dance in the grocery store, in the lobby. Mike and I will be around if you want to come floss with us and get a nice picture.
It's our new thing.
Thank you
join
for
us.
your time.
Thank you.
It's the hips. That's what I'm missing. I don't have the hips. Dr. Dorsey from the University of Rochester has so many things that are on my nerd radar. Everything I've ever thought I wanted, I see showing up in a paper that he's published. So I'm really pleased to bring him on stage and have him talk about the great work he's doing up at the University of Rochester.
So the fastest growing neurological disorder in the world is not Alzheimer's disease, it's Parkinson's disease. Just in the last 10 years, the number of Americans with Parkinson's disease has increased 45%. In 10 years, 45% more people have Parkinson's disease. Globally, the number of people with Parkinson's disease has more than doubled in the past 25 years, and if we do nothing, it'll double again at least in the coming 25. The change is not just happening in the United States, it's around the world. Virtually every region of the world has increasing rates of Parkinson's disease. In short, we have a Parkinson pandemic. Fortunately, we have confronted other pandemics in the past. In 1981, the New York Times wrote an article that highlighted a rare cancer was breaking out among homosexual men in New York City. That cancer was soon to be found to be linked to HIV and AIDS. And a community of people with and directly affected by the disease stood up and said, enough. We're tired of dying. We're tired of being ignored. We're tired of being discriminated against. And in the face of huge opposition, no federal support, they worked hard to, one, prevent the disease by changing behavior, two, advocating for resources at a time there were none devoted to it, caring for individuals with the disease at a time when doctors like me would not see them, and hospitals, including our most prestigious ones, would not admit them, and four, to treat it with novel therapies by getting pharmaceutical companies to invest in research and FDA to accelerate the approval of highly effective drugs for the condition. In 15 years, HIV went from a uniformly, rapidly fatal condition to one with near normal life expectancy in 15 years. Why have we in Parkinson's disease failed to do the same when we've had this disease for at least 200? So what can we do? One, we can care for anyone, anywhere with the disease. Today, 40% of Americans with Parkinson's disease do not see a neurologist within 3 years of diagnosis. 40% of Medicare beneficiaries, people with universal health insurance that they have paid for up to 50 years of their life, do not see a neurologist, not a specialist like me, a neurologist of any kind within 3 years of diagnosis. Those individuals are 20% more likely to fracture their hip, 20% more likely to be placed in a skilled nursing facility, and 20% more likely to die. We have the technology to care for anyone, anywhere. Thanks to support from Polly Dawkins and early support from the Davis Finney Foundation, for over a decade, my colleagues and I have been using simple video conferencing like Skype, like Zoom, to connect to patients with Parkinson's disease initially in nursing homes and now directly in their homes. If you think about it, we have a fundamental flaw in the way we care for individuals for Parkinson's disease in any condition. We ask individuals with impaired mobility to be driven by overburdened caregivers to come see generally healthy clinicians on our terms. We should be seeing you on your terms. And the only way that's going to happen is if you demand it. So today we see individuals, I see almost exclusively my patients over the internet. On the far left are the McCaslins. They live in Saratoga, New York. Mr. McCaslin has Parkinson's disease. He's about 83 years old. He lives 3 to 4 hours away from where I do in Rochester, New York. And I see him on a web-based video conferencing in his home. This is Mrs. McCaslin. If you notice, I get a whole different perspective on their life. Their house is set up like a diner. This is a dining table, like this red thing. This is a booth, like those red vinyl booths that people used to do. That's a jukebox machine. Here behind him, as you can't quite see it, is Betty Boop. Around the corner is like a Coke machine. So I get an entirely different perspective on his life and get to know him actually probably better than I would if I saw him in person. I don't actually think I've even ever met the McCaslins in person. Thanks to support from generous foundations, we've created something called Parkinson's Disease Care New York, which for the first time we enable any New Yorker with Parkinson's disease to be seen by us regardless of ability to pay. If you live in the state of New York, we will see you in your home regardless of ability to pay. We are currently caring for over 400 individuals with Parkinson's disease throughout the state, everywhere from Long Island, New York to Lockport, New York, and all points in between. The average age of these participants is in their 70s. The oldest person has been 92. Individuals have had Parkinson's disease for an average of 8 years. Over half of them live in health professional shortage areas. 20% are homebound. They leave their house less than once per week. Leave their home less than once per week. We've also worked with Bas Bloem in the Netherlands to create something called Parkinson TV. It stars people with Parkinson's disease. Anyone watch Parkinson TV? Yeah, so we have some viewers out here. Thank you. So these are educational episodes on everything from medications and exercise to depression and apathy. And they, again, star individuals with Parkinson's disease and their caregivers. It's freely available. You can go to parkinsontv.org and watch any of these episodes. It's reached over 800,000 people in 70 countries around the world, been viewed by 70,000 individuals, including many of you and hopefully some of you online. And you guys have given us overwhelmingly positive feedback. So that's what we can do to improve the way we care for individuals with Parkinson's disease by bringing expert care to individuals where they live on their terms. We also need better measures, objective measures of Parkinson's disease. One, so we can provide personalized care to you based on how you're doing in real-world settings, not just how you're doing in the clinic when you're seeing us. And two, so we can accelerate the development of new therapies. When we have poor measures of disease or poor measures of anything, it's very difficult to tell whether a new intervention works. If we have objective sensitive measures like we do for HIV, we can measure the virus in the blood, we can measure the number of blood cells affected by HIV, then we can get treatments to you faster. So in March 2015, working with Sagebound Networks, a nonprofit in Seattle, we developed a smartphone application called Empower, which over 15,000 people throughout the United States have downloaded both with and without Parkinson's disease. Anyone download the Empower app in this room? We are now working on the second generation of the smartphone application. And just to give you an idea, so this just has this, you do a simple task on the smartphone like tapping on the screen to measure speed of movement, or bradykinesia, the technical term. Use the accelerometers in the phone to measure gait or balance to see how it's how Parkinson's disease is affecting you. And working with some really smart computer scientists at Johns Hopkins, we developed something called the Mobile Parkinson's Disease Score, which is an objective, continuous measure of Parkinson's disease based on assessments done on your smartphone, and it goes from 0 to 100. 0 is low symptom severity, 100 is high symptom severity. So you can measure your own symptoms every day over a 6-month period. You can measure what your symptoms are in yellow before you take your medication, in this case levodopa, and blue triangles what your symptoms are after you take levodopa. You can imagine you can do this after assessing your rock steady boxing class, or after your dance class, or you can see this after a good night's sleep, or maybe an argument with a spouse. So you can find out a whole different range of how you're doing with an objective, continuous measure that can be done by anyone, anywhere with a smartphone. We're also working with colleagues at MIT to develop, they've developed an invisible radio wave sensor. This sensor is crazy. That's the sensor. It looks like a Wi-Fi router. It emits radio waves. Those radio waves reflect off any things that contain water, so generally humans or pets. And with that radio wave sensor in your home, you can measure what portion of the time people are lying down in bed, what portion of the time they're sitting in their favorite chair, how much time they're spending in the bathroom, how often they're going to the bathroom, how often they're waking up how often they're waking up at night. So they can, in short, tell us all the information that we can't see when you come to us in clinic, and we know that many individuals with Parkinson's, what we see in clinic is not representative of what people's life is like. 99.9% are not in an artificial setting on our terms. We're also working with a pharmaceutical company called Biogen and Apple to use the Apple Watch to measure Parkinson's. How many people have an Apple Watch in the phone? So there are people, that device can now be used to measure Parkinson's disease. If you have early untreated Parkinson's disease, including our viewers right now, you can sign up to participate in our study. It's a one-year study to see if we can use very commonly used commercial devices to quantify tremor, activity, and sleep, and get us better measures on the disease in real-world settings, not just in clinics. You can go to watchpdstudy.org, again, if you have early Parkinson's disease that's not receiving medications, and participate in this study so we can get better assessments of the disease. Finally, for the last year or so, my colleagues and I have written a book on ending Parkinson's disease. This book was written for you and for all those individuals who are at risk for Parkinson's disease, which is increasingly all of us. In the book, we detail what we can do to prevent Parkinson's disease by addressing environmental factors, known environmental factors linked to Parkinson's disease, including pesticides and industrial solvents and air pollution. What we can do to advocate for additional resources. Just by comparison, HIV receives $3 billion a year of NIH funding. Parkinson's disease receives $200 million a year, and that has actually adjusted for inflation, has decreased over the last 10 years, even though the number of people has increased by 45%. What we can do to care for anyone, anywhere, and how we can treat the disease with novel therapies. We should be thinking about doing big things. And one big thing that our generation can do here today is work to end Parkinson's disease. If we do so, that will be a great gift that future generations do not have to bear the burden of the pestilence that we call Parkinson's. Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Dorsey did not disappoint. You have the best toys. I have nerd envy. It's really amazing the work you're doing. Now for another really fabulous project, Mara Horton is going to come up and talk about her work designing clothing that can be used for people with Parkinson's and other disorders.
Thank you. So fall is my favorite time of year. Anybody else out there love fall? Although today or this weekend in Austin, it does not feel like fall. For some people, it's the cooler temperatures, back to school, sweater weather, pumpkin spice lattes. But for me, it's football. I had the privilege of being married to a career college football coach for almost 30 years of my life. And every fall, we spent so much time on and off the field, but it always was around football. For those of you that don't know football very well, my husband was what you call an offensive line coach. He coaches the big guys up front. There's 5 guys in a line that stand there and block basically every play that the offense is on. And they make a good quarterback go from looking good to amazing. They help running backs squeeze through the line so that they can get to a first down. And they are not the guys you generally hear their names on the loudspeakers. They're a very humble set of guys. They're not the guys that people are asking for autographs. And that was similar to my husband. He not only coached, but he played. He coached every level from high school, Division III, Division II, and Division I, where he landed most of his career. At the age of 48, he was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease. And for us, much like being diagnosed, it was like a game, and the quarterback was being sacked. The quarterback generally doesn't stay down, right? He gets up, shakes himself off, readjusts his game plan, and goes about the game trying to still be successful in life. And that's how we and our family handled our diagnosis. We were trying to grow our family at the time as well, and we decided to continue that, and we now have 2 daughters. So I'm thankful that we stayed moving forward with that game plan. He really didn't tell anyone about his disease. He kept it pretty quiet because not a lot of people would think you're going to be successful as a college football coach with Parkinson's disease. You need your body as well to move on the field. But he was doing such a good job that 2 years into his diagnosis, he was actually voted by ESPN as one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. So we develop our teams or our schedule into goals, and obviously in football, the ultimate goal is to win national championships. And unless you're Alabama, Clemson, should I say Texas? Or Ohio State, that might not be the goal you're going to achieve that year. So you have sub-goals, and so some of the sub-goals are to be conference champions or to go to a really good bowl game. And beside each name on your schedule, team, they put different notations. Around the ones that you're going to most likely win, they generally circle. Around the teams that are going to be a challenge, they put an asterisk. And around the teams that have a much better point spread advantage, they usually put an exclamation mark. Well, Parkinson's came front and center for us one of those games. My husband was coaching at North Carolina State University at the time, and they were playing the University of Maryland. There was a circle around Maryland's name. We were supposed to win. When we got there, it was kind of a dogfight. We're going back and forth. I don't know if they brought their A game. We didn't, but we weren't doing as well. It got down to the 4th quarter, and we were down by 1 touchdown. We were driving, and a very critical play, one of my husband's offensive linemen jumped off sides, causing a penalty, and also not letting us advance the ball for a first down. We lost the game. That night, it was a late game. My husband came home at 1 a.m., and I, like most football coaches' wives, as soon as he came in the door, said, "What happened?" And he said, "Mara, I had a bad day." And I continued, and I said, "I know. Why did your tackle jump off sides?" And he firmly said to me, "No, Mara, I really had a bad day." He said it in a way that was much different, and I stopped. And I said, "What happened?" And he kept going on, and he said, "I was stuck in the locker room. I was trying to catch the team plane, and I couldn't button my shirt. It was right there in front of me. I couldn't do it. For 20 minutes, I sat there trying to manage one button." I still didn't say anything. He said, Russell, who's a player that plays for the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know if you've ever heard of Russell Wilson, but he went over and helped him in silence. He said, "Mara, I'm glad Russell was there, but I can't do this every day. We've got to figure this out." Then he went on to tell me a little bit more, that he had been traveling before and had to call down to the hotel concierge services to ask them to help come up and help him get dressed. There was a humiliation in his voice that, as a spouse, I wasn't used to, at least. And he could tell he was trying to tell me something more. This was one of the first times we had actually really addressed Parkinson's head on, because as a family, we just kept going forward. We didn't really stop to address things unless we were getting ready for a doctor's appointment. So I could tell he had some humiliation and he was scared. I immediately went online to see what I could find, because it has to be something out there. And lo and behold, I didn't find much. I found one option of a shirt that was Velcro, and I ordered it for him. I actually overnighted it because I knew he'd be traveling the next weekend. I handed it to him, and he said, "Really?" And I said, "This is the best option." So he tried it for a while, but until then, we tried to make it a game at home. We just, as a family, would try to help him get dressed and be there for him as much as we could. And there were always players for him that would help him as well get dressed. It was kind of a game in the locker room, too. I think someone was assigned to him, to tell you the truth. They didn't like to be late. And so I kept thinking that there had to be something better out there. And one day I was shopping with my youngest child, and I saw iPad covers and how they connected to an iPad. And they were really, really small, minute magnets. And I thought, why can't we put those in shirts? So I went online, ordered some magnets, got them in, tore apart one of his shirts, and put it in, and it worked. I was super excited. It was pretty simple to line it up, and they automatically did all the work for him. He just had to put it on, and they would automatically line up. It was great, right? But problem number one, magnets corrode. So the first time we had to put it in the wash, it didn't really work well. So we went back to the drawing board and figured out a way that we could make washable magnets and clothing that he could wear every day. I was never going to start a company, but the whole time I was doing the prototyping, I was online just seeing other people's messages about their difficulty. And it wasn't just Parkinson's, it was arthritis, ALS, neuropathy, limited mobility and dexterity. The list goes on. And I kept thinking there had to be something better. I can't believe that there's really nothing out there for people that need help. Because if you think about getting dressed, most of us don't actually, right? We get up every morning, we get a shower, and we get dressed to go on our day. But that's not the way it is for a lot of people in the world. And so there had to be something better. So we decided to launch a company. 4 patents into the process, we launched. We had 1 shirt, 2 colors, very naive at the time. And we did really well. But what we did also on our website was we asked customers to share their story, because our company started with a story. And 96% of all end users and buyers would share back their stories to us, which helped motivate us and keep us going and make us know that we were on the right path, because people shouldn't have to not be able to dress with dignity. I had one story that was so moving. I'll share it with you. A gentleman wrote in and he said, I have ALS, and I was in a bathroom in a restaurant, and I asked someone to help me, and he punched me. These are the things that aren't acceptable. I was shocked that Velcro was introduced in, I believe, the 1950s, and nothing else had come along. So I'm so proud to say that we are doing better for the community and anyone that suffers with limited mobility and dexterity, and offering them different solutions to getting dressed. It's such an important, integral part of not only self-esteem, but self-confidence. It's really where we show who we are. Most of you put on your clothes today thinking, oh, I like this. I hope we all put on things saying we like what we have on. This says who I am. And I couldn't think about a future that my husband wouldn't be able to do the same. So I ask for you guys to think about things that you can game change, because game changing is what it's all about, right? We have to try to think about other resources and solutions for our loved ones so that they can move forward and they can go about things that every day we talk about and do without any thought to it. Getting dressed is something that's so simple and so overwhelming for a lot of people. Some of us have caregivers that can help us, but there's also a lot of people that don't. And so you have to think about those people and how they're getting dressed and how they're going about their day. So by changing one thing, hopefully, for your caregiver, we can all start thinking about changing many things for other people so that they can always feel proud in who they are, what they have on, and what they're doing. Thank you.
I want you to take a moment to help me welcome the Christinas, Christina Soriano and Christina Hugenschmidt, to talk about their program that they're bringing out of Wake Forest.
Pause. Pick up the mic. Move. 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 Pause. 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 Move. Move. Pause. Move. Pause.
My turn. I hope you'll join us. If you're able, you can stand, or if you prefer to stay seated, we can continue moving that way. We're going to cross the midline of our body. We're going to play now with speed and altering speed and effort as we cross, thinking about the space behind us, above us, below us. Pause.
Now, take your right shoulder and start a right shoulder dance. And now, take your left thumb and have the left thumb join the dance with the right shoulder. Now shift that and do left elbow and, I don't know, right eye. And let that go. Now start making angular shapes with your upper body. Soriano?
Add circular shapes. Triangular with your right arm and circular with your left. Pause where you are. Whatever shape you're in, create what you think its opposite looks like. Whatever shape you're in, turn it into a stretch. Give yourself a big hug and have a seat. Thank you. So you just practiced some improvisational movement prompts, and that's the space that I live in. We're excited today to talk to you about our work together, and I'm excited to introduce you to my amazing colleague and dear friend. This is Christina Hugenschmidt. She is a neuroscience researcher, and she's interested in the ways brain and body wellness come together. She has taught me that if there's a physical change we can see in someone's body, we should be able to measure that change in the brain.
And this is my friend and colleague, Christina Soriano, who is a choreographer, dance educator, and movement interventionist. And she believes very deeply that movement should be available to everyone.
So we work in a capacity often in a dance studio. I'm really privileged and fortunate to work with people living with Parkinson's and their care partners. And when we work together in the dance studio, we're practicing change. We're practicing improvisational prompts in an open-ended, non-judgmental way. We're in a safe space and we're taking risks. We're responding to change. And one thing my friends living with Parkinson's have taught me is that often the disease can rob you of spontaneity. So our theory is if we practice responding to change and practice improvisation together in the studio, perhaps we are taking back movement that belongs to us, not to the disease that we live with. So one of the other things about improvisation, why we privilege this way of working, is that improvisation is a democracy. I don't stand up there as the movement person that is the expert. I just deliver the prompts and hope that people join and respond in the way that makes sense to them and their bodies. Right now, you're looking at a video of a friend of mine who had been in our pilot study back in 2012. And we engaged in a study for 7 weeks, looking at an improvisational movement curriculum for people living with Parkinson's and their care partners. And the pre and post tests, some of them are very simple measures like getting in and out of a chair. And you can see over a very short period of time some profound changes in the task of getting out of a chair. So the notion of how movement can have a greater confidence is something that I care about. That's a little big idea we're interested in. How movement can have fluidity and how a dance studio can help us practice living and practice being a human being. Another image from our study that we like to show our friends is this is another person in our study who still 7.5 years later still keeps coming to class. And Eunice here is crossing the midline of her body, the prompt that you practiced a moment ago. What I love about the pre and post-test changes here is that Eunice has the risk and a confidence to take her eyesight out of it. So she doesn't hyperflex at her neck, but she takes her head down, and her focus finding the floor isn't a scary thing. She's not afraid about falling in that moment.
So this idea of the challenge of helping people to find agency and find a confidence in navigating their environment, why would the two of us be people who could answer that challenge? So our theory behind this relates to work by Liz Lerman, who is a mentor to us and also a MacArthur Genius Grant award-winning choreographer. And she has this idea, what she calls hiking the horizontal, that in our society we tend to privilege one idea over another. So it could be that some people looking at the two of us might say, well, the science is definitely the most important part of this to find out why these things are working for people. There are other people who might say, why do you even need to study it? You can see in those videos with your eyes that people are doing better after they do this dance. But we feel that these things exist on a horizontal and that they're mutually important. And these are important conversations to have in that space. Another shared ethos we have is this idea of hiking the horizontal between the academy and the community, that we may do these things in a specialized environment at a university or a school of medicine, but the community classes that Christina runs and programs that we're working on right now to make things accessible in people's homes are equally important to developing a good evidence base. So our solution to this challenge of how to help people find agency is to try to create evidence-based solutions that people can use, whether they have Parkinson's or neurological disease, or just are trying to improve their ability to move in the world. So this outlines our ideas about how we're applying these ideas in a current research study we have that's a randomized trial of Christina's work. And our theory, and it's applying it in people with memory loss. Many people in this room probably know that when you have Parkinson's disease, it increases your risk for memory loss. What a lot of people are less aware of is that people with memory loss have a higher risk of falling than their same-aged peers who don't have memory loss. And one of the main reasons that people with memory loss wind up in a hospital is a fall. So we hypothesized that Christina's dance intervention could also help this community, and that the movement involved in her class would change motor-related networks in the brain, which it did, and improve balance, which it did. And we also hypothesized that the way she runs her class, she just mentioned that Eunice is still coming after 7.5 years. That is because the community that formed in that class with people with Parkinson's disease and their caregivers together, which is how Christina teaches, has continued to meet. They didn't want to stop the class. And in fact, her class spawned the largest Parkinson's disease support group in our county. And that sense of community was really built through this moving together. We felt that that same sense of community could benefit people with memory loss who often feel uncomfortable going out and can suffer from depression and apathy as well. We found that it did, and also that it changed a brain network that's important for social engagement. And we're continuing this work now. How are we continuing it? One way is that we're still working on a randomized controlled trial. We've got about a year left for recruitment in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So if anybody here or watching is in that area and wants to participate, we'd love to have you. But we have a lot of other things going on as well moving forward.
Working in this way, for me as a choreographer, has been a game-changing moment, to borrow Mara's idea. I now think about the way a choreographic process can look like should be an intergenerational one. So I'm really interested in a creative process where the stage is shared with children as young as 5 or 6 and older adults as young as 87 or 88. So every summer we work together in this intergenerational capacity, learning from each other in the dance studio. I think about the way professional dancers are a part of that community, the way my students at Wake Forest are a part of that community. And I think about the way that they become future policymakers and what they're learning in a creative process in a dance studio might change policy as they become future leaders, so that arts-based practices are available to older adults throughout our lives. Dancing isn't something that we just practice when we're young and able-bodied, but it's something we can do throughout our lives. I'm also really excited that we have partnership with our local arts council in doing this work.
We also have a partnership with Senior Services in our area, and this builds on some of the other work that you've also heard about and trying to integrate technology to make things more accessible to people. So Senior Services actually came to Christina, and they are starting a new program for homebound seniors where they bring a pet therapist or an artist into the home, and they said, we'd really love to bring your dance into people's homes. So we started off by giving CDs. As you experienced, you don't have to see somebody to follow the movement prompts that you're doing. So we gave them CDs of classes that they brought into homes, and volunteers who were going in, say for Meals on Wheels or other things, could do little short classes with people in their homes. People have responded to this really well. They really like it. In fact, they asked us to record longer classes, which is great. We also are lucky now to be working with a colleague who's made a beta version of an app, which is a lot more streamlined than having a CD. So we're hoping soon that this is going to be something that we can continue to test out and make available to people so that you can do this in your home. You don't have to come into a class, which may not be at a good time or maybe too far away, all the barriers that Dr. Dorsey was talking about.
So the name of our curriculum is called Improvement, and I've been so inspired by the way some of my colleagues and students have also thought about other communities that could benefit from improvisational movement. So one of my students has taken a pilot study of this work to rural areas of Ghana and worked with children who have cerebral palsy and done some research there, measuring range of motion and spasticity in joints. I have another colleague who's thought about using this, and we've been working with improvisational movement classes in our local industries for the blind community, so vision impaired people having access to these classes. And then I have a wonderful colleague who's an occupational therapy student thinking about an improvement curriculum for the Parkinson's community in St. Louis. So we're developing partnerships and alliances with lots of exciting people, and it has been the most meaningful part of our lives together in our work. And so I just want to thank everybody here and the Davis Finney Foundation for being the kinds of leaders in this space that inspire people like us to do this kind of work.
So what does this mean for people here, and what are the take-homes that you can walk away with today? One of them is something that Christina always says, that I would never call myself an artist, and I certainly was asked to stop ballet class at the end of 5th grade when everybody else went on point, because that is my level of dancing talent. This is also my level of artistic talent. This is my glass tree that I made. But I have really started to take one of Christina's lessons to heart, which is that we can all incorporate an arts practice into our lives in the same way that we might have a spiritual practice or a physical practice, and that cultivating a practice of trying something new, taking some artistic risk, is really important even if you're not an artist. And it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be a perfect outcome to have a meaningful impact on your life.
And she has taught me to fall in love with data, something I never thought I would be excited about.
Excel spreadsheets are pretty amazing.
They are. So at the end of the day, all of this work has really inspired in me the reality that our lives are entirely improvisational, and that we can practice change in a dance studio. This is how our classes start. Many of you, I'm sure, are involved in movement classes, and we often start seated in a circle. But by the end of class, we purposely make the room look like that. We want you in that class environment to be responding to the chaos that is life. Deal with the change, respond to the change, be empowered with the agency that you have to respond to the change, and translate that into your lives after you leave the dance studio.
And one of the last things that we really like to encourage everyone to do is to be open to unlikely partnerships. So to us, this slide really embodies images of this unlikely partnership. I work in the section of geriatrics and internal medicine, and we have a very clinical way of thinking about falling. It has a definition, which is coming to rest unintentionally on the ground or a lower surface.
And in dance, that is so not how we think about falling. We think about it as something that's intentional, that has meaning, purpose. It's a compositional choice. It can be beautiful. We practice it. We get really good at it. And so together we talk about, well, How can we both redefine our relationship with the ground? And that is one of our little big ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for highlighting all those pieces. I noticed, Christina, you're modeling a Minions Band-Aid. Was that part of one of your changing your relationship with gravity? It's a long story. Okay, so for those folks that are here, we're going to do a brainstorming event here pretty shortly. For those who are online, who are visiting us online, Chris DiStefano from the Davis Finney Foundation is going to take you on a tour of the exhibit hall so you can see the different items that are being there and talk with the presenters to learn more about their projects. Just give us a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Chris DiStefano from the Davis Finney Foundation. Thanks for tuning in to Little Big Things. We hope you're enjoying this day of innovation as much as we are here. While John Dean takes the crowd here through a brainstorm section, I am going to take you through the Innovation Hall. So let's take a look at 11 great innovators and the people representing those ideas. Little Big Things is about ideas, big ideas, little ideas, solutions that solve challenges. And ideas don't have to come from a research lab. They don't have to be big ideas. Any idea can provide a creative solution that may make daily life easier, improve it, make it a little bit better. And we're going to go through a range of innovations and innovators that come from all over the world that are helping make life with Parkinson's a little bit easier. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with exactly how you do each day, getting dressed. We're going to start by getting dressed with Magna Ready. This is Maria with Magna Ready. We heard the story of Magna Ready moments ago. The mission at Magna Ready is stress-free dressing. So can you tell us a little bit about, I think we all understand how it works, but can we see it, talk about it? Welcome, by the way.
Thank you so much, Chris. Absolutely. I'll show you right here one of the products that we have. And if you see it, it looks like a regular shirt, but it's actually all magnetically infused. So you pretty much just open it like this. It's easy on, easy off. You put the plackets together and they immediately just, I'm trying to zip up. So it's really for that ease of dressing to help people with disabilities or with limited mobility just restore that freedom that they used to have before, you know. Something so easy as just getting dressed in the morning can be so challenging for some of these people, and it's something a lot of us take for granted. So that's a really great part of this.
That was really neat. I don't know if you could hear it, but the magnets all kind of came together all at once, lining up the plackets. It looks really clean. And there's also, for those of you who see at home, there's buttons, so it looks like a traditional button shirt. Your range of clothing, this isn't going to say to anyone, oh, this is special clothing.
Absolutely, and that's what we focus. We try to make it as wide as a range of an assortment as we can. We have polos, we have kids' shirts, we have dress shirts, we have flannels. So really everything, we try to make it in a fashion-forward way as well, so people can look great and feel great and have that ease of dressing that they're looking for.
And I notice you also have pants, in addition to some casual clothing. So I think next, most people are probably saying, well, that's really something good for me, or I'm very interested in that. Where can people find Magna Ready clothing?
So we have a website. It's magnaready.com. Super easy. You can read more about the brand. You can find the wide selection of products that we have for women and children as well. You can also get us through Amazon or through Zappos.com.
That's fantastic. Thank you. We all look better already. Thank you, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have with us Dr. Emily Splickle from Naboso Technology. Thank you for being here. Little Big Things welcomes you. You say life is sensory. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me being here. So Life is Sensory means that really our movement, our day-to-day is based off of information that's coming in. As a podiatrist, I focus on how our feet or the skin in the bottom of the feet is a gateway to sensory information.
Interesting. And what I've read and you've talked to us about today here is that this sense that we have, this sixth sense, is proprioception. Did I get that word correct?
Yes, so proprioception, which means how you're perceiving stimulation through joints, joint movement, through skin, through the skin in the bottom of the feet. And really at Naboso, we're trying to target the skin in the bottom of the feet through texture. And the more proprioception or sensory stimulus you have, the better the balance, posture, and gait.
And that's great because we're covering our feet most of our lives with shoes and socks. And you have insoles and mats here that are textured, and that texture does what?
So the texture, which is a 2-point discrimination, stimulates the nerves in the bottom of the feet, which tells the brain where your feet and your body is in space. This translates to improved foot awareness, confidence when you're standing, decreased instability, movement confidence, and what I call movement longevity. All of the insoles and mats can be used barefoot or with thin socks, and you will still get that stimulus through the feet. They're very low profile, which means they can go over an orthotic in any type of shoe. Almost seems too simple to believe the effect that we see, but a very simple intervention has a profound effect on movement quality and reduced fear of falling.
And so if you don't want to wear insoles in shoes, you have a mat that you could use at home or in front washing dishes or exercising, any of those things.
Yep, so all of our products have the same texture and technology. The insoles go into any shoe. The mats, like we said, you could do balance exercises, you could do your rehab, you could put one of the smaller ones in the kitchen or outside the bed, so you get that foot activation on a daily basis.
And the most important question, they're available now, and where can we get them?
Yes, we can get them now at nabosotechnology.com, and we have a special 15% off with code NAB15. So NAB15 gives 15% off, nabosotechnology.com.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Joining us from Tango Belt, the fantastic folks from Tango Belt in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania, couldn't be here today. So they sent this guy because it takes two to tango. Sorry, I had to do that. The Tango Belt is a wearable device to protect hips during fall. So we protect your hips from fracture. About 300,000 people over 65 will suffer hip fractures annually. And while there are options where you can wear passive pads, they may be uncomfortable, they may be hot. This is a wearable device that you can take on and off, and what it does is, using motion sensing technology or data which we would call fall disambiguation, it understands you and how you move, and it understands the difference between standing, sitting, moving, and falling. Should you fall, this will softly deploy airbags, just like you would see in a car, that will wrap around the side and rear of your hips to create a soft landing space or protective airbag should you fall, to prevent any injury or to decrease injury from that. What it will also do is it will notify a caregiver that you have fallen. It's a wearable device. It is really interesting in that if you choose to wear padding, you could take this off when you are sitting. You could put this back on when you begin to walk around. It offers really interesting mobility. And the folks at Tango Belt, their website is tangobelt.com. Really neat. I really thank you. Anything else you'd like to add? All right, great. Good stuff. Joining us from Vancouver, British Columbia is Mandy Shintani there. Thank you very much. From Urban Polling. You are an occupational therapist who developed the Activator pole, not only for just a greater exercise, but also for rehabilitation. Can you tell us a little bit about Urban Polling?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I actually came upon the idea from my neighbor who's from Sweden. So it's based on the concept of Nordic walking, and basically what it is that your upper body is doing a movement that's something like cross-country skiing, and your lower body is just walking in urban settings. So there's been about 5 studies that have been done on Parkinson's, and what they found is when people use walking poles, they're forced to stand more upright, they've got bilateral support, and it mimics the same movement as regular walking. So it tends to normalize the way that we walk. When you use poles, you have more arm swing, you've got bigger steps that you take, and you walk at a faster pace. So it's basically trying to normalize your walking and keep it as fast and as functional as possible.
And so how would this be different than, say, a cane or a walker?
Okay, great question. Because in Canada, we've actually been able to change best practices for people with Parkinson's as an effective alternative to canes and from using walkers. So when you've got a cane, for example, you tend to lean on one side. That changes your posture, that changes your walking pattern, it changes your arm swing. And you're leaning on your cane in your wrist, that puts a lot of stress on your wrist joint. And then when you're using a walker, you're leaning forward, you got that bad posture, there's not a lot of movement area there for to do a leg stride, there's no arm swing. So the difference with both of those is that engagement of your upper body when you're walking, and a lot of arm swing, better posture, and just always keeping your wrist in a neutral position.
Now, these are really light. I wish they're fantastically light, super strong, a really neat ergonomic grip. How is this different than what you might find at, say, like a hiking store?
Okay. Well, the first thing is that when you get a pole at a hiking at a store, is that it's got a really thin handle and it usually has a strap. So the whole idea behind this is that we wanted to develop it ergonomically with this ledge so that you can press down on this ledge for weight bearing, core strengthening, and balance, and your wrist always stays in a neutral position. And then a pose, we found a lot of people can't do don't have the arm strength to do a turning lock system. And so that's why we changed to this button lock system, and this actually holds up to 200 pounds per pole. Yeah, so the therapist and the person can have a lot of confidence to know that this is going to hold them up and can use it as an effective option compared to using a cane, for example.
Okay, big question. Everybody wants to know, where do they get this?
Okay, so they can go to urbanpoling.com or urbanpoling.us.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, next, this is the fun thing with live events. We had PKG, the folks from Global Kinetics, were here, and unfortunately, we're not able to stay for this portion of the program, so I'm going to do my very best. The PKG system is a wearable device. Essentially, it looks like a watch that would be prescribed for use by your physician that you would wear, and the device will track your movements, it will track your sleep, it can track your response to medication, and what that does is it informs your care team, your medical team, of how you are and what may need to change in your care. They had an interesting study that just came out that shows that the PKG system can help for people with deep brain stimulation to provide more information than just a clinical review or a clinical study. You can visit them at Global Kinetics. PKG, we thank them for being here. They talked to a bunch of people while they were here. Really fantastic, interesting stuff. And we look forward to learning more from them. Next, we're going to go to somebody that you already know. We've seen a lot of this guy today. It's John Dean from Triad Health AI.
Let me give you the highlights of this, and then I'll talk a little bit on our screen about what we're doing. So essentially, we've taken the exercises that we do with people day to day living with Parkinson's that combine movement and voice and cognition, and we put them onto a smart speaker device. So this hockey puck is the Amazon Alexa. You can get this older one for almost nothing, but for $30, $40. But actually, the apps on your smartphone for Alexa and Google Home work just as well. They're voice controlled, and so we have a lot of people who use the device that way and don't have to purchase a dedicated device. So you'll call up the device and say, Alexa, start Triad Health, and a program that your therapist is helping you design will show up and just go through the exercises with you, and then you can actually look onto the dashboard. Is this touchscreen going to be magical? Look at that. Yes, technology. 1 out of 10 times it does everything you want. So you can see how you performed on it, how many answers were correct or incorrect, how long it took you to take that answer, and we can actually see what prompt we were giving. And that's the kind of information that a therapist would be using anyways. We'd be using that to guide you towards the next exercise or to slow it down or to make it more challenging or whatever we need to do. And then also we've added in the ability to track your medication timing and your symptom relief in the medication timing. And that gives you the ability to see how you're doing in relationship. And we're taking all that data and we're putting it, I'm playing with fire here now. We're taking all that and we're putting it into a machine learning approach that allows us to see the different components, the medication timing, the exercise performance, and then what you're reporting to yourself to give you insights about how you live with Parkinson's. And then you can share that with your therapist or your doctor or not. You can use it for yourself. So that's the basic model. We're releasing our first product in December of this year. If you visit our website, a little pop-up will come up and you can find out how to sign up, and maybe we'll even give you a little bit of the beta testing. We have a couple of products ready. We're just not quite ready to put them out to the public yet. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And this is what happens when you tell someone he's the MC. He gets to hold the mic when it's his turn anytime during the day.
Man, yes.
That's seniority here. Thank you very much. I know we've got to send you back to the breakout session and back to the main stage. Thank you very much. Okay, next I have Andrea from Zebrio, which you told me earlier you cannot say without a smile, and it's absolutely true. Zebrio. I just said it. Welcome. Now, Zebrio is based out of Houston. We're close to Houston, and I'm a big space fan. The Smart Scale comes from what we've learned a lot about the space program. Is that correct?
That's right. So it was actually invented at NASA by Dr. Catherine Forth and Dr. Erez Lieberman-Aden. They were working, NASA wanted to send some very small device up to the moon to be able to assess the balance of astronauts, to be able to do it without a specialist expert there, so they could just have an assessment. What is the astronaut's postural control? Are they mission safe? And that was really the germ of the idea. Since then, there are a whole lot more people on Earth that need help with balance and posture. Right now, if you think about the major killers, you have heart disease, where we have cholesterol as a warning measure of that. You have diabetes, we measure blood sugar as a warning level. Falls are actually now the leading cause of death across all ages and all populations. And yet, there isn't any real early warning system. People don't get the help they need until after a catastrophic fall, and for some people, sadly, that's a bit late. So it's very simple. You stand on it for 60 seconds with your eyes open, hands by your sides, nice and relaxed, and then you get a score between 1 and 10. 10 is the best balance, think an Olympic athlete on a gold medal winning day, and 1, 2, and 3 tell you you're at a high risk for falling. So it tells you not only your balance, your postural stability score, but also your risk for falling. And from that, you can then access the help that you need. There are many modalities, such as it may be physical therapy, it may be reviewing the drugs with your doctor. There are a whole host of things available to you. Once you know your score and you track your score, you have the power to actually do something about it.
And we can get this now? Is this available now?
It's actually in pre-order right now. You can order it on our website, and we'll be delivering in March of next year.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then we all go to the moon.
Then we could.
Okay, I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Hi.
Hello.
We're going to keep moving down the innovation hall here. This is Sydney from San Luis Obispo, where Cal State Polytechnic, Cal Poly is located, with Dioro Devices, and brings us the next stride. And it is my understanding that 80% of people with Parkinson's experience freezing of gait.
80% of people with severe Parkinson's, about 60% of everybody with Parkinson's, but 80% of people will experience freezing of gait at some point, yes.
And you were in school with a group of your fellow students, correct? and developed a device to help one person.
Yeah, so it all started with Jack. Jack is a local veteran that lives in San Luis Obispo, and he came to the biomedical engineering department and said, hey, I need help creating this device. Do you have anybody that would be able to help me do this? So my professor came to me and asked me if I would want to create this device for Jack. And of course, for me, this was a great opportunity to not only use my engineering skills, but also help somebody in the community. And that's how it all started. It really was a school project. It was just a project at the time, and we made it for Jack, and it really changed the way that he was able to live his life.
So it's a school project, but now it's a company that you started. You are now the founder and CEO of that company, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And if we can we see the Next Stride in action?
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit more about it. So it's a small portable device that can attach to any cane, walker, walking poles, whatever it is that you use.
Even the activator from Urban Polling?
Even the activator from Urban Polling. We have those on our demos usually when we go into support groups. And it uses clinically proven visual and auditory cues to help overcome that freezing of gait episode. So the visual cue that we use is a laser line. I'll turn it on here. It's a laser line that's projected onto the floor in front of you. You visualize yourself stepping over that line, and that change of intention actually changes the neural pathways that are being activated in your brain and allows you to overcome that symptom. The auditory cue is a metronome. You imagine yourself stepping to the beat of that metronome. And again, that change of intention changes the neural pathways that are being activated and allows you to be able to overcome that symptom and be able to initiate movement again. So the whole idea behind this, and there is extensive research backing this up, there's over 40 peer-reviewed articles that have been published showing the efficacy of both the visual and auditory cues as well as the combination of them together that have been shown to not only reduce the duration of freezing of gait episodes by 69%, but reduce the frequency of freezing of gait episodes by 43% and reduce falls by 40%.
Amazing.
But the whole idea behind it is that if you can change the intent behind the movement or change the motivation behind the movement by adding this goal, you actually change the neural pathways that are being activated that then allows you to bypass the damaged neural circuits that are causing freezing of gait and be able to initiate movement again.
Well, thank you. That's the little big things. One little idea for one guy becomes a big idea for many. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And just so you know, we are accepting pre-orders right now on our website, www.deorodevices.com. You can pre-order the device. There's only 200 that are being pre-ordered right now.
You know my job better than I do.
And that'll be available in February.
Thank you. Here we have a Little Big Things story that I just find so fascinating. Calibrace with me is Courtney, the founder and CEO with Calibrace Plus, excuse me, I forgot the plus. Welcome, thank you very much. Your story is the story. The idea that didn't come from a big company or a lab, it came from your personal story with, like we say, at a kitchen table at home. Tell us about the Calibrace Plus.
Yeah. So the Calibrace Plus is a back brace specifically designed for Parkinson's patients and elderly patients to improve their posture and balance using a patented pulley tensioning system that lifts the shoulders up and back so that you have total torso support. So it wraps around your entire waist and it just gives you that confidence and that dignity that you're now standing up straighter. And I started a Bill of Life and created Calibrace Plus because of a need that my mom had. She had Parkinson's disease for 25 years before passing away. That was such a huge problem, and so she was always slumped forward and stooped forward. And we didn't connect, my family and I didn't connect the dots that it had something to do with Parkinson's disease. So what ended up happening was she was more prone to falling, and that's something that happens when you're in that stooped over compromised position. It was difficult for her to digest food, breathing was difficult, and it was just hard for her to have a conversation like you and I are having now because she couldn't just look somebody in the eye or even look at her favorite television show. So I created this brace essentially for her and for people like her who had this problem.
Let's take a look at it, but I do want to tell everyone watching at home, if you search Calibrace Plus, you have a wonderful TED Talk where you talk about your story and how you had a plan in life and then this wasn't your plan, but then it became your plan. And really just a great story about what this whole innovation event is about. This is the Calibrace Plus. This is your travel partner.
This is Yeah, exactly. So it's easy Velcro. You can just kind of Velcro it on. And the interesting thing about it is that when you turn it around, you see these straps here and these two straps. These straps connect. So as you pull these two straps in the front, it actually pulls the shoulder straps up and back. So it's actually pulling your shoulders back. So imagine someone standing behind you while you're seated and just gently kind of pulling you back and just getting the...
I would love that, by the way, all day.
Yeah, like the relief that you feel in your lower back, your upper back. So that's been very helpful for a lot of patients. And the great thing about this is that it is available right now via prescription, and it is covered by insurance.
And this is something you can wear under clothing and for any activity, correct?
You can wear it under clothing. You can wear it during exercising, walking, sitting, standing, driving. So it's really exciting to be able to offer this. And just for some of the patients who are interested in maybe giving it a try, I would recommend going to your doctor as soon as possible, because we have the new enrollment period for insurance coming up January 15th, I believe. So you'll want to kind of come in and do any prescriptions or any devices that you might have. Make sure that you're aware of that enrollment period and how that might impact you. But
Thank you so much. I love this story. I had a lot of fun researching this whole innovation hall, and I really enjoyed your story. And thank you very much for being here.
yeah, thank you. And if they go to www.calibrace and then plus, so spell out the plus.com, they can find videos about the brace, why I started the company, and then get the prescription form.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. With me here now is Price from Speech Vive. And Speech Vive is it's a revival of speech. We know that sometimes with Parkinson's, we may see a diminished voice or a diminished ability to speak. And Speech Vive addresses that with a device that you're actually wearing right now. This is really, really interesting stuff as well. So Price, take us through the Speech Vive.
Okay, thank you, Chris, very much. So as you stated, the Speech Vive is a wearable device. I've got a right ear device on. We can fit the right ear or the left ear. And it was developed at Purdue University in Lafayette, Indiana, in the speech lab by Dr. Jessica Huber. And the company was spun out of the Purdue Technology Lab in 2011 and rocked along predominantly as a research company. And the device that you see here and the device that I'm wearing in its current iteration has been on the market for about 2 years. And how the device works is it's worn again in the ear and over the ear, and inside the earbud is an accelerometer. An accelerometer measures movement, and when we speak, the ear canal vibrates and the jawbone moves, and the device senses that movement and plays what we call babble talk or background sound into the patient's ear. And it tricks the brain into thinking that the patient is in a noisy, crowded environment, much like this exhibit hall. And as we all do, we speak up and over that noise. And so it doesn't require a cue. It doesn't require the patient to think about it, but it's an automatic response on behalf of the patient to speak up. Generally, too, not only is volume increased, but clarity and articulation is improved as well. So the device has been on the market, as I said, since about 2018. It's available through the VA system. We're on formulary and it's completely paid for our vets if they are within the VA system. Also, we can bill insurance companies as well as Medicare for it, or it can be self-paid.
And so this is really, we've done this all our lives anyway. If we've been in a crowded room, this is just encouraging someone to do something they already know how to do.
Exactly. Scientifically, it's called the lumbar effect, is the phenomenon that it's known as. But again, it's just that speaking up over a crowded, noisy background in order to be heard.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. We're at the end, and it wouldn't be a Davis Finney Foundation event if we didn't have a bicycle. Bert here is from Bicycle Sports Shop of Austin, one of the best bike shops you're going to find anywhere on planet Earth. And what we have is an e-bike or electronic bike. It's an electric assist bicycle. It has a motor that supplements your output as you pedal. So it's not a mini motorcycle. It's not a moped. It just allows you to ride a bike by maybe taking the edges off a little bit, allowing you maybe to go farther. Some people say faster. I say better. So what What do you have here for us, Bert?
This is a Specialized Como 4, 28-mile-an-hour bike. It's pedal assist. It is the step-through version, and we have it set up to a just a traditional trainer to give folks an idea the assist that this bike will provide them. A lot of happy folks today. They really enjoyed it. They were impressed how fast it would allow them to pedal, because I understand that they are shooting for a 90 RPMs or cadence per minute, and many of them made it.
Yeah, so what this is, a regular bicycle with gears, just as you would find anywhere else. You can ride it on any bike path, any street, anywhere that you would want. Since not everyone can come to Bicycle Sports Shop of Austin that's watching this all over the world, what's a great piece of advice you can give someone to say, hey, I want to go into my local bike shop, I want to buy an e-bike? What's the one thing you can tell them to go in?
Most manufacturers are now producing electric bikes, and just get one that's a name brand and not something off of Amazon or something that a local shop cannot support. If you go to a local shop, they'll be able to support it, do any of the firmware updates, and provide the assistance that would be needed on just a regular bike and the electric bike.
Fantastic. It's a beautiful day here in Austin. It's very hot, but I'd love to ride. So we have hit the end of our innovation hall. I want to thank everybody for taking time to meet everybody as we walked through. Little Big Things really has proven itself here. The stories here of the innovators, of the products, of the things that are being created out of the challenges that people with Parkinson's or their caregivers are facing is something that we're really proud to showcase here.